Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name is Brandon. I am a lifetime Seminole fan.
And I am Chris, and I am a grateful Gator fan.
And we are putting aside our differences as rivals to bring you the fantastic world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. Some games to recap, Chris. I know the Gators are still off, but I'll give you a minute just to say how they're doing, and then we'll take care of the rest of the state of Florida and see how they did this weekend. So take it away.
I'm grateful because as of now, the Gators are scheduled to play this weekend after 2 weeks off due to COVID and outbreaks, and even today, I think 6 more players tested positive. I think the stat was like 37 in this past month.
Wow.
It's a staggering number, including our head coach. So we'll see. They haven't announced who had it, who has it, who is available, isn't available. So there's a lot of questions. I really don't know. I mean, as of right now, we are playing. Honestly, come Thursday, Friday, that could change. I just don't know. If we have enough, I think then like the minimum number is 52 players. Again, the ones that did have it, are they cleared? The 6 that were positive today, can they be cleared by? Who knows? Who knows? Who is ready to go? I don't know. And so that's kind of where we're at. But as of now, we are playing, and I'm excited. That's the potential of actually playing because, man, it was weird. Just weird of playing 3 games, getting a taste of it, and then putting everything on pause. And we see that with, like, FIU and FAU have done that a lot, but now it really hit us. And it's just a weird feeling. But as of now, I am grateful and hopeful that we're actually playing Saturday.
Yeah, and just a general note, grateful to be following conferences that started when they did, you know, and anything starting, you know, Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12 this late in the year, you know, they could be really hurting. So, yes, grateful is a very good word for that. And I think the reason, Chris, they're not releasing a lot of names is, you know, for privacy.
Yeah.
There may be, that might be like a HIPAA thing for people that are in the medical field. Anyway, but obviously hoping that everything gets back to as normal as possible. We got enough to play. And we'll talk about the actual game itself later on. So,
yeah.
All right. So here's to their return. A team that did play, I think most of a game was Florida State.
They were on the field.
Yeah, it turns out they were in Louisville. So FSU travels to Louisville. They lose pretty badly, 48-16. So I'll start with my positives, opportunities, and observations. So actually, there were some things that I liked about this. Still some explosive plays going on offense. We're still able to rush and probably get 8 yards per run. A couple of tiny, small wrinkles that they added in. They kind of went to an option where Travis kind of rolls out and kind of throws it overhanded backwards to a wide receiver. So at least they show they still have some innovation there, not getting too stale. The defense got a safety.
Yeah.
Struggling to think of other positives here. There's not.
I will say this. Yeah. Well, you know that I know that the Florida State basketball team is pretty good, but if they ever have issues at point guard, Jordan Travis can step in because the way he dribbled that football and had a crossover, that was pretty impressive. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I've watched a lot of football. I don't think I've ever seen anyone dribble a football and then have the wherewithal to juke 2 defenders and go in for a touchdown. I've seen some video of some guys like warming up and kind of like dribbling a little bit, you know, but no one's trying to tackle them, you know. So I was very impressed by his just skill, and it kind of Charlie Ward-esque there, you know. Just he could play football and basketball.
I like that. Yeah, he's definitely showed some improvisational skills in that first drive to get that first TD. I was very worried, of course, because I said if he doesn't pick that up, that's 6 the other way. Right. And So I'm glad there's just no quitting that guy. I really like it. He's played through injuries. He's a tough runner. You showed some skills there. He has some things to work on, of course, and he's not a long-term solution, but very exciting. He makes the defense play very differently. It opens up a lot of opportunities. So
I will say,
yeah.
I'm trying to help you out here. I got more positives for you. I do like Webb. Corbin's pretty good too. Mm-hmm. Really, they have decent running backs, and Webb, at least that one drive, looked unstoppable. I think he should get the ball more. So at times, 265 on the ground, it's pretty good, So there are some bright spots.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the rushing numbers because that was one thing I was gonna throw out there. A lot of chunk plays. So, by that I mean like plays that probably went at least 8 or more yards. Mm-hmm. And 265 on the ground. Webb last couple of weeks really coming out of his shell, if you will. Mm-hmm. That's been a really big positive. Special teams, I did like how we did stick with the returns early on in this game. I was kind of upset. I was like, okay, we got different people returning kickoffs and punts, and we're not really gaining the yardage that I'd like. But eventually that started to pay off, and then on one special teams play, we actually drew a penalty of 15 yards. So it gave us good field position. So little things like that I really want to see more of. And I don't know, this is kind of a neutral, not necessarily a full positive, but there were some true passing downs, like 3rd and long. I think 1 or 2 we did complete. That's not easy for this kind of offense to do. So, that's really good to see. Norvell coaching up the guys before the locker room. I know we were down 31-14 at half, but he's always just out there coaching the guys, and that's really good to see because clearly we need it. I'm sure there's a couple other positives I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but that may honestly all be all of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I did my best, but that's
ran out too. Okay. Cool. No, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to bring that many to the table. Yeah. Opportunities, they abounded, and they're almost all on defense.
Right.
Louisville had 225 yards of offense in the first quarter. Mm. They had plays that just constantly went to Hawkins or Atwell or Cunningham made the plays too. I'm just like, there just looks like there's nobody there. I think in one play they reverse field and it was a 1-play drive. Or they've gotten 1 or 2 first downs and then throw it to Atwell deep. And I'm like, this is their best receiver. How is he so open?
Yeah, that he's good.
Yeah. We're having to go to some different talent to try and get some playing time. Dix has gotten some playing time. Emmett Rice, this is one. He's played a lot of hustle, but he kind of got dinged up in this game too. The passing attack, when you're trying to rotate in guys, if they're not Asante Samuel Jr., you're just gonna have to live with some mistakes. Not a lot of Miko Dotson this game, but they kind of rotated in some other coverage guys. Not seeing a lot of Amari Gaynor anymore. We just don't hear Marvin Wilson's name come up very much. Durden and Cooper, the defensive line had literally no impact in this game. So we're right back to where we were before Notre Dame, really. They had some presence in Jacksonville State, but they're FCS. Notre Dame, decent here and there. But as I mentioned, going into this game, I was like, I don't like Florida State to win here because the turnovers and points off of it just are going to eventually end. And I thought it would still be a close game and maybe low scoring-ish. It was low scoring for Florida State. Only 2 points in the second half. My stat, I'm going to bring that up every time. And you've got struggles on the special teams unit. Another missed kick. When you're forcing to punt. And the penalties, again, I don't mind, but it was the time of it. I think there was one drive, for instance. We drive all the way down inside the red zone. This callback has a penalty, then a false start, then an incomplete pass, and then all of a sudden we're punting. And those are the kinds of things that just kill momentum. Going into the halftime period, like the end of second quarter, we came within 28-14, and then we let Louisville go down and score very quickly. We kicked a field goal, and it looked like we might have something on the return there. We drive down, miss a field goal, and make some really weird play calls, and then we allow Louisville to go and try a kick too. So not great clock management there, and a couple of poor decisions. I wouldn't have thrown to the end zone, for instance, on 3rd and 14. So a couple of things. We don't convert a 4th down to get in the end zone in the third quarter, so we went from bad to worse. And the biggest thing, I depending on what film you look at, Chris, or who does the stats, Florida State dropped anywhere from 2 to 15 passes.
Yeah.
That was just the biggest killer. And I honestly it just really looked like the wide receiver core just quit.
Mm.
And I mean, I've never seen guys just have so many balls just hit them in the chest, hit them in the hands, or not make an effort to try and go get it. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, you called this game because I thought Florida State had turned the corner with UNC. That turns out that game might be an outlier, might be just a fluke, because they just had everything go right that night. And we're seeing with this offense, you're going to need defense and special teams to produce, and when they don't, this is what you get. As bright as Jordan Travis is in the running game is, you only put up 14 points, and your defense got you the other 2. And one of those touchdowns came on, I believe it was a 4th and goal.
Yeah.
And another one you had to go on 4th and goal, and you actually you missed it. So when you're doing 4th and goal a lot, it's probably not good. And you see some bright spots, but really putting up 14 points, you got to do some more. You got to do more. You got to help out your struggling defense. And on defense, you had 3 playmakers, right? The quarterback, running back, was it Hawkins, Atwell, and Cunningham?
Yeah.
Those are your 3 stars, and you just let them run all over you. You can't do that. You can't take away their star and make other people beat you, and they didn't do that. And I don't know. I didn't follow. Maybe you saw this. I don't know where Asante Samuel was. I don't know if he was. He should have been. If he wasn't, he should have been shadowing Atwell, knowing how good he is. And if he wasn't, that's on the coaches. You take your best player and neutralize their best player. And yeah, the receivers dropping everything. And for you to say, I'll say it, but for you to say they quit is a pretty big deal, because I know you're pretty optimistic, but for you to drop out the word quit is, I think you're right, though. They definitely did quit on them. And they needed to help out their offense, and they did not at all. I believe, Louisville's first 5 possessions, they scored.
Yeah.
And with Florida State, with their offense isn't built to come from behind. And it's pretty good to hold a lead, but not come from behind. So you really need, once you get down 2 scores, it's pretty much over.
I like everything you said there, especially with how the defense special team sets it up, because I didn't make that full connection until you put it that way, but you're absolutely right. And yeah, quit was the only word I could describe why the wide receivers were playing so bad down the stretch. Yeah. We're already down 38-14-ish, and we don't convert a 4th and goal. We get a safety, and I was like, well, okay, we can maybe drive the field here. We score 9 points off of this possession, or 10 instead of 2 or 7, and we throw an interception. Yeah. Late in the game, when it's just gone, it's completely. It was already 48-16 with less than a minute to go, or something roughly. We punt to them, and then they muff it, and we get 1st and goal, and we don't score. And that just blows my mind. I don't understand how that doesn't happen. It's not even a score where they're trying to stop us. They're already halfway to the locker room.
Yeah.
So, and there were opportunities. The defense, a couple of times Louisville kind of struggled out of the gate on a drive. And I think there was even one where they threw a backwards pass, which was eventually called incomplete. But that was where the defense needs to step up and fall on that, or just lay out Atwell, just hit him hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
they just didn't do it. We did get a blocked field goal, technically, at the end of the half, so that's 5 in the season. I guess I can throw that back in the positive category. But let's see. I think that's all of my opportunities. Did you have anything else to add there?
No, your offense reminds me of Florida's offense in 2013-14 Muschamp era.
Yeah, I was just about to say. You were talking about this. I said, he's going to go to Muschamp, and he's probably not wrong.
No, I remember one of the games that sticks out to me. It was playing at Miami, and our offense was just struggling the whole game. But it was still a close game because our defense was pretty good. And I want to say it was like third quarter, maybe in fourth quarter. We're down by like 3. Vernon Hargraves, freshman at the time, he picks off a pass, and he runs down the field and gets tripped up at like the 13-yard line. And I was like, there was our best chance of scoring. Like, that was our pick six, a potential pick six was our best chance of scoring. Because, right on cue, 2 plays later, Jeff Driscoll throws an interception.
No way.
And Miami went on to win the game. And that's just how it was for the longest time, was if your defense, which we had a really solid defense, but if they're not forcing turnovers, we're not winning because we're not scoring points. And that's kind of where Florida State's at. You saw with UNC, 2 block kicks, a pick 6. They win the ball game. So they're going to need defense. And if your defense isn't tackling or covering people, then it's going to be a long game and a long season.
Yeah, and I mean this knocks the Noles down to 2-4. I think most people agreed we probably would have been 3-3 at this point in the season, maybe 4-2 at the best. And we struggled. The Georgia Tech game, you can't have that one back. That's done and gone. In a game we lost by 3, but our defense played like they played against Louisville. We just happened to get 3 block kicks instead of 1. And that changed the momentum and the scoring of the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this one's tough to swallow because we knew that Louisville was not a great team. I knew momentum-wise they had an edge on us, and they capitalized, and they were just sick of losing. They lost for an entire month. So it was bound to happen. And then real quickly, some not opportunities, done with that, observations. We see a sighting of Chuba Purdy. Hey, Florida State's been waiting for this guy for a while. He went 0 for 9 passing, but that was at the point when the wide receivers are just dropping everything.
Yeah, not all his fault.
No, yeah, for sure. But I kind of saw that coming. It turns out Blackman didn't make the trip for this game. Neither did our wide receiver coach, Ron Dugans. Who knows if that's why the wide receivers quit? Couldn't tell you. They've had struggles the entire year with him there. So I was like, well, late in the game, it was going to be either Purdy or Rodemaker, just depending on the coach's preference. So, that's an interesting thing to see. And I think this funny one. The only other observation I had was that the coaches went with face shields instead of mask. I think there's an advantage to that. I didn't know that you could do that. I thought you had to do both or whatever. So,
yeah, I don't know how I feel still on that, because I think face shields look weird, but I mean, you want to get your point across, and I mean, you want to look at your players, and you want them to see that you're either excited or angry. So, but there's a benefit to wearing a mask, so you don't have to cover your face when you're calling plays.
Yeah.
So no one's going to steal what play you're calling. So I just thought it was funny. I don't know if it was the Florida State game or this other game, but some guy was wearing a fake shield, but he's putting his hand over, still like past the shield over his mouth as he's calling plays.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was like, a mask would have solved that problem. So,
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah. The other thing that ended up playing no factor at all was the fact that Jordan Travis came back. He actually started his career at Louisville and transferred to Florida State. And he seemed to get some shakes and high fives from the other players, but motivation-wise, his play and everything was equal to what it normally is. No like revenge factor on his mind, or at least if there was, it didn't show.
All right. Now, your opinion, do you still play Jordan Travis or just put Purdy in? Because, I mean, if Purdy is the future and this year is pretty much a wash, I mean, I don't think they're going to win the ACC. They're still going to be bowl eligible. I mean, Purdy will still have this year eligibility-wise. Do you just go all in on him and take his lumps, get him some reps, or what?
It's not a bad choice. The thing to keep in mind with Florida State's schedule is that minus the Clemson game, everyone we play from here on out is actually an easier opponent. We end with Virginia and Duke. We play Pitt, NC State, who actually is pretty good, and then Clemson. So it's not a bad choice. I don't think you go full out Purdy because you don't want to play with the morale of the team too much. Yeah. I mean, you started the season with Blackman. You started Rodemaker against Jacksonville State. You started Jordan Travis here, and you got some momentum going. I don't know if you just want to yank the rug out from underneath the quarterback room like that. So, like, talent-wise, that would make sense. But given that this is a season where there's just so many unknowns, I wouldn't be surprised either way. I actually heard another outlet say, like, maybe you rotate the 2 in.
Just about to say that, yeah.
I haven't really, you're asking for my opinion. I can't give it because I haven't come to a conclusion yet how that should work. I like Travis if he's 100%. With those option runs, maybe they're just trying to draw away some hits so he takes less contact, which would be good. But, maybe design a series or 2 per half and say, okay, guys, Purdy's coming in, but keep Jordan your starter.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing because they're going to be people are scheming for Travis, and he's tough. But once you figure out, hey, if you have the guys to play man and everyone else just spy the quarterback, you're gonna stop them. But now if they have to also plan for Purdy, a series here and there, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, the mantra is if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. I don't want to fall into that trap either.
Well, I don't know if you have one right now, to be honest.
Jordan's been fun.
Against Travis,
the Jordan experiment, as we'll refer to it, has been interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. And it's kind of a delicate situation, I guess, as far as the players go.
Right.
In my worry, but you got a week to figure that out. So
Yeah. But I think I don't know if you're hearing this or not, but I think Norvell, you could see that he is an upgrade from the last guy, and you can kind of see some once this season's over and he gets his players, you can see where once he gets his system and everything in. You can see where he could be going up. He could be taking this program up. But it just stinks right now because this year's just going to be awful. And maybe even next year.
Yeah.
But if you're a Nole fan, you have to be patient.
The flashes are there. And yes. The
flashes, thank you.
We can't continue to have this, hey, everything's okay with the defense. And then, we should fire everybody. And then, we're actually good. We won a game. We can't go. You have to ride it out. The roller coaster will eventually be parallel. It's not going to be highs and lows. It probably will be the rest of this year. I mean, I knew we would lose some games we shouldn't, and this was one of them. I wasn't sure preseason that we'd lose this game, but coming into it, I was like, I don't like our chances. And I'm not saying that means we're going to win games we shouldn't. Like, we're not going to be Clemson. Just get that out of your head. But we did win North Carolina, and that's not a game I thought we'd win either.
Right.
Florida State has pulled off upsets over the last couple of seasons, given the ACC Wheel of Destiny. So maybe a healthy rotation of the 2 quarterbacks the rest of the year would be beneficial.
Right. Okay, so moving on. Speaking of the ACC Wheel of Destiny, let's move over to Miami and Virginia. The Hurricanes squeak out a victory, I guess, 19-14. It was in a game that they led majority of the game, but it was one of those. It's a weird game. They seemed like the better team, yet it seemed like they couldn't pull away from Virginia. And I was like, at any moment, Virginia's just going to pop a score and they're going to win. It never happened, but they made it close and interesting. But it's just a strange game.
Yeah.
For the Hurricanes. King, he was okay. I mean, he threw for over 300 yards and a touchdown. Running game, they went over 100 yards total, but nothing crazy. Just kind of I hate to say boring game, but kind of a boring game. It's like, all right, Virginia, you're hanging around, do something, and they didn't. They scored late, but it was just weird. What are your thoughts?
It was. I think both teams scored a touchdown on the first possession, and then there was literally no touchdowns for 3 quarters.
Right.
Miami was up. It felt like 10-7 forever, and then they finally get a touchdown after another field goal, and they go for 2 and don't get it. So it's like 19, and then Virginia decides, hey, yeah, we're gonna make this close. And you're like, okay, where did that come from?
Right. Yeah.
And There was no turnover in this game. That's kind of rare for both teams. This is the kind of game though that Manny Diaz knows how to win comfortably, and I could kind of tell as the game wore on. I was like, oh, he's in his rhythm. It's gonna take a lot for Virginia to win at this point. So the 19-7 lead late was, I felt secure enough right there. But yeah, weren't a lot of flash, not a whole lot of fireworks in this one. Miami's just still kind of playing secure ball, using De'Aaron King, safely to get exactly what they need. But he's kind of leveled down, and he's just kind of turned into, he's a very good threat, but he's really not done anything terribly highlight worthy in the last 3 weeks or so. And that's okay. You got to realize that the defenses are going to be ready for you, especially since you have, that blowout loss at Clemson. But you also don't have like the point they're scoring 52 points like against Florida State anymore. So there's just plenty of game film that everybody can see. Okay, these are athletes that aren't Houston anymore, or the American, and the ACC kind of figured it out.
Yeah. They also with King, Mike Harley is becoming a breakout receiver for them. He had 10 catches, 170 yards, and a touchdown. They definitely need him with the deep ball and to draw people away from King, and so King can run and scramble some more. So that was a bright spot there. And yeah, I think you're right. The tape is out on them. And I think they surprised some people early, but now they're starting to figure it out. I mean, Virginia is a pretty decent defense, but not great. But now you see a team like Clemson, like you said, who can shut them down. Like, oh, this is how you shut them down. But they still win, though. I think this is a Miami team last year that probably would have lost this game. So you're seeing some progression there.
That's a good point. Yeah, very true. You were also saying that this is the kind of game where Virginia hung around. You're like, any minute they're going to score and take the lead. That's actually exactly what happened when Florida State played Virginia in 2011. We just led 13-7, 13-7, 13. All of a sudden, 3 minutes left in the game, they drive down, take the lead, and then we try to answer with a field goal and missed it. And so that's the kind of, that was in the back of my mind. I was like, that would be funny if that's how Virginia wins this game too.
Right.
But Miami's late score kind of made that a non-factor.
Yeah.
And Virginia's got a long way to go. They still have like Tuilaipapa, so that they've got some guys that return. But other than that, they lost so much, like Perkins and so much other protection. This makes them fall to 1-4, and I'd like Florida State's odds against them.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so next up, let's go to UCF finally getting a bounce back for Tulane.
Yep, Tulane shows up, of course, blue jerseys because their school color is green. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel just continues to do what he does. 5 touchdowns, 422 yards passing. He is having a great season. He already has 2,178 yards, 19 touchdowns with only 2 picks. Do you want to know who the last guy was that had those numbers?
I'm at UCF.
In NCAA in the last 5 years.
I'm gonna say someone from Texas Tech.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I started with the school. I was just like, I'm gonna pick a school that does that. I picked the school. Once you said yes, I was like, it's gotta be Mahomes.
Yeah, it was either gonna be that or some other Mike Leach quarterback.
Right.
But yes, that's correct. So up to this point in the season, UCF's played 5 games. So fantastic numbers. Marlon Williams continues to be the biggest threat. McCray came in this game and rushed for 162 yards and on 25 carries. Yeah, the Knights get back right. This is the right team to do it too. They got a pretty big game coming up this weekend. And Tulane continues to be a team that'll struggle to bowl every year. So against a good opponent to kind of right the ship.
Yeah. I was interested. One, you mentioned that Tulane had the blue uniforms. I've got to give credit. UCF had some nice, space uniforms?
Yeah.
Becoming one of my favorite traditions for them.
All right.
So I don't know where I heard this before, but it was if you look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good.
Mm-hmm.
And they played pretty good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Going back to their uh, dropping 50 easily ways and 400 yards by Dylan Gabriel. It's nothing to him now. 5 touchdowns. It's nothing to him. It's a normal. It's just a normal day for him.
Yeah. I think the only thing that UCF really has to work on is their kicking game. Obarski is constantly missing extra points, and obviously a kick missed against Memphis cost them the game. That's the one weakness there. I would like for UCF to. It's funny I'm saying that now. Saying this, I would like UCF to stop going for it on 4th down so much. But then again, I get it because your kicker has struggled so mightily. But
Right.
if he has short range, you would think that would be the way to go. But if you're missing extra points, then can't get any shorter than that.
Another standout, Williams, a receiver, had 3 touchdowns, 174 yards. So that's another positive for them. And McCray, 162 yards on the ground. So their playmakers are making plays. You would like for them to maybe not give up 34 points to a team like Tulane.
Yeah, true.
But if you're dropping 51, then that's okay. But you see, I get caught up to them in the 2 previous games, though.
True. And everybody can say like the defense performed well and they're back on track. But again, you have to consider the opponent.
Right.
And I don't see 100% turnaround there in areas of improvement based on his performance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If it's there, I'll have to wait for it to see in the next couple weeks.
Okay. So let's go over to South Florida. And let's just breeze past this one because it ain't much to talk about. Just South Florida losing again. They're not good at football.
Yep.
And they lose 42-13 at home to Tulsa. Tulsa's a pretty good team.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give them that, but
yeah, they held him for a quarter.
Yeah, it's pretty good for South Florida.
Yeah, 15 minutes they looked all right.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to win games with 13 points.
Yeah. And you said if you look good, you play good. They didn't look good either. The uniforms are terrible.
They were gross.
And they do that every year. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that. I mean, when Florida came out with those alligator uniforms, I mean, they looked awful. So I'm glad that we corrected. We're doing more throwback stuff, which is good. But yeah, can we have just one person just go? Those are gross. Can someone just say that? Because we've done it. South Florida. I mean, you see it at least once a year, a handful of times a year. Some teams just like Michigan State a few years ago, the lime green. That was
yeah.
Who? I guess there's probably somebody that's like, oh, it's good, but there has to be one person that's just like, hey guys, do you realize this is not good? Like,
maybe this was their goal. We can't get them to talk about our actual team. Let's get them riled about the uniforms. We'll get them talking about us that way. Maybe it's a marketing strategy. That's
maybe
my best solution.
Yeah, I mean, and I have to think you're right, because if I'm a 17-year-old kid, maybe that looks good to me.
Sure.
I mean, me even an old dude with some kids myself, it probably doesn't look that good. But I'm not the target market, is what you're saying.
True. Yeah. And the struggles continued on just ball control, obviously, on offense and special teams. There's a whole lot of information that they need to figure out. And like we said, don't expect them to win a game the rest of the season. If they do, it would be a huge upset.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on past them.
Well, where do you want to go, FAU or FIU?
How about the Owls?
Owls, yes. They lose on the road to Marshall 20-9.
Yep.
Talk about not scoring points. yeah, Marshall's a pretty decent team, so I'll give them credit. And I guess losing by 11 is not that bad, but you still lost. You know, still not good. Yeah, I don't know what to say. The Owls won their first game, but like we were saying earlier, this is a tough year for them with so many cancellations on games, and then you play a game, you gotta wait, and then so it is hard. It is hard, especially being a first year head coach that Taggart is. But yeah, losing on the road to Marshall, 20-9. The defense, okay. You should be able to 20 points. The offense should be able to score more, but if you can't break the double digits, you're not going to be winning games.
True. And that's what stuck out to me was the offense didn't really move for the Owls. They actually had time possession, but I looked back, I was like, I don't know how. They actually won the turnover battle as well. Marshall had 2 to FAU's 1. But it was really the rushing attack just didn't get anything done.
Yeah.
86 yards on the ground, and then 140 through the air. So I mean, you're just not going to win, like you said, not going to win games that way. But yeah, defense, solid effort.
Right. Forcing 2, like I said, forcing 2 interceptions, but I mean, it's kind of it's just not gonna cut it.
Yep.
All right. So moving along. And this is a game that I missed big time on Florida State. I actually called this game.
Nailed it. Jacksonville State beats FIU. Good job, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well called. Give you all the props there.
All right. FIU loses 19-10 in a barn burner to the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. So looking at the stats here. First, this is one that sticks out to me. First downs. Jacksonville State 26, FIU 6. And then time of possession, and this is going to play into something when we do our preview of the next game, previews of this next week, I should say. Time of possession, Jacksonville State 42 minutes, FIU 17.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that is just, and 285 yards on the ground for Jacksonville State. I saw the fight that they put up against Florida State, and I just knew that FIU was they're just struggling big time this year.
I underestimated just how much struggling the Panthers had. They actually pulled their quarterback because they were struggling so much, and it goes from bad to worse, and they fall to 0-3 after losing to an FCS school.
Yeah. Ugh. And then I think you were saying that they had their game canceled this coming week?
Yeah, so it won't be a preview there because they were supposed to play Marshall, and now we're hearing that game will be postponed.
Right.
So it's kind of a sour note.
Yeah, for real. For real. Yeah, you always hate to lose before a bye. Obviously these are unexpected buys, but anytime you lose and then you have to have a bye, it's just another week at least to think about it,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh. All right. So, if you don't have anything else, want to look forward?
Yeah, that'll wrap up this week. I think it's week 8. I keep losing track of where we actually are here, to be honest.
It don't matter.
Yeah.
None of this matters.
So Florida State is off, and Florida plays Missouri. So we're just going to go ahead with the assumption as of this point this game is happening. Right. Tell me what your thoughts are, assuming you have as many people healthy as possible.
Yeah. So before we actually get to the game, sticking to the theme of uniforms, Florida is going to. We knew that this was going to be the game where they're going to wear their throwback uniforms from the '60s, which I really like. But a little wrinkle this week. Instead of the throwback white helmet, it's a throwback blue helmet. So I'm interested to see how it actually looks on the field.
Yeah.
I like the idea and concept. It might be too much blue, who knows? But I think I think they're going to definitely look good and feel good. That's for sure. Will they play good? Will they play good? I don't know yet. There's so many question marks going into this game. One with Florida, who's going to play? Who's sick? yes, they were off for 2 weeks, but they didn't really meet in practice. So what's going to be fixed on defense? Is anything going to be fixed on defense? We got a guy like Kyrie Campbell on the line, D line coming back, which is great. I don't think he's going to just solve everything. He can't cover. He can't be a safety. So hopefully he can apply some pressure, and hopefully Grantham and the guys can tweak some things depending on who will be out there. So I don't know. I think, assuming we don't have key players on offense, I think the offense will be able to still hopefully be clicking. That defense is just the biggest question mark on our team right now.
Yeah.
Versus a Missouri team who is this team? You lose to Alabama and Tennessee, okay, I can see that. But then you beat LSU in a shootout, and then you beat Kentucky in a low-scoring game. So I don't know. And if you look at the stats against Kentucky, who I thought they were a pretty decent team, especially their defense. Missouri beat them 20-10. Missouri had 26 first down to Kentucky's 8. And again, time of possession, 43 minutes to 16 minutes.
How about that?
Missouri. And they don't. It's weird. They're. I don't know what to expect. Are they going to air it out against us? Are they going to run it against us? I don't know. I would expect them. I guess if I had to guess, they want to play like they did against Kentucky, where keep the ball away from our Kyles, keep the ball away from Kadarius Toney, and they're pretty good overall within the ACC of converting third downs, which is awful if you're a Gator fan, because that's what we are awful at on defense, is stopping third downs. So I really just don't know how to call this game. I mean, I think the spread is like 13 and a half, and I don't even know. Maybe that's a good call. Maybe there's no telling. I think obviously I trust Mullen. I trust him to get his guys ready. I don't know who will be ready. But I think I would assume at least that the players are going to be just chomping at the bit to be playing again.
Chomping a bit.
Yeah, that's what it did. Be excited to play at home. New helmets at night. So I think that Florida wins, but man, I think it's going to be a close one. I just think maybe like a high scoring game, but I say Florida squeaks out one thing, 35-31. Just because I have no idea. I mean, I could be spot on. We can blow them out. I have no clue.
Yeah, it feels like any outcome could happen with this matchup. I agree. I'm going to take the Gators to win. I don't know about covering the spread. That's pretty big, 13.5. I think the bigger mystery than Missouri is LSU, because they didn't really know who they were early on, and then they just put it on South Carolina last week. And so what are we supposed to read from Missouri from that game? Maybe that's the outlier versus the 20-10 victory. Although that's impressive, man. They just outcoached Kentucky in that kind of matchup. They really did. The quarterback Basilak, he's pushing 900 yards passing. That's impressive. 4 touchdowns, and he's not gonna run a whole lot. He's kind of like a healthy runner, where he's like, okay, well, I can kind of do what Trask does and just get 3 or 4 here and there. I'm not going to take a sack, but protects the ball pretty well. Only 1 pick on the season, so I think he's the difference. And then Roundtree has nearly 400 yards, so he's averaging close to 100 rushing yards a game. But other than that, I mean, I had to look up these guys' names. I don't really know a lot of players in Missouri, and they just don't draw a lot of attention. Generally, this series goes in Florida's favor, so that helps the Gators. Plus, it's at home. I can't see a whole lot of reason on offense they're going to struggle in special teams. Like you said, and like everyone knows, the defense for Florida, can they get some things right? I mean, honestly, and I think you would agree with this, can't get much worse. And they surely have improved something, and I like Grantham, and I'm sure he can turn it around. So keeping them in the low 30s kind of would be nice. So far, I haven't seen Florida show they can do it, but Missouri just doesn't have a lot of athletes, so maybe low to mid 30s sounds correct. So I'll take the Gators. How about 38-34?
Okay, yeah, kind of around there. Um, yeah, I know that. I think Roundtree, you mentioned him earlier. He's a guy that he can have a big day, and if he does, we're in trouble. And I think if we get out there and if we just get a 3-and-out, I think we win the ball game. If we just force a turnover. If we win the turnover battle, whether it's 1-0 or 2-1, I think we win the game.
Wow. Okay.
I just, but will we? I have no confidence in our defense right now. And I don't know if it's a more man, if you play more some of the freshmen, if you blitz more. I just don't know. If we start turning the ball over though, it could be get real hairy real quick. So yeah, I'm real nervous about this game. I think we have the better coaches and obviously the better players, and we're at home, so all these boxes are checked, right? But who knows? Who knows with their confusing team, we're a confusing program right now. So I'm a little nervous, but I think we're gonna squeak it out.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yep. Like I said, Florida State is off. UCF travels to Houston. This is going to be a tough matchup. Houston's played really well. They had to play BYU, who's sneaky good this year.
Mm-hmm.
Still undefeated, by the way. They beat Tulane and Navy, who are middle to bottom of the pack in the American. But Houston flat out can run an offense, and that's got to be scary for UCF's defense is struggling pretty bad. Not so scary for the UCF offense, who knows they can score probably 50 on this team. I don't think Houston's defense is quite where it needs to be. I think even against Tulane, Houston turned the ball over 5 times and still won by 4 touchdowns. So, they can play a little bit sloppy just like UCF can, and it just doesn't tend to affect them. They had a lead in the third quarter against BYU, but lost it pretty quick. And then BYU added a garbage time TD, which made it look a little uglier.
Right.
This will be a tough game, like I said, for UCF. And I've kind of gone back and forth on this one. But I think in the end, UCF will sneak out a win. I do not feel comfortable with this at all. In fact, most of the week I had Houston as a team to win this one. But I'm going to take the Knights. That is my final answer. Lock it in. Take them by 1. How about 51-50?
Okay.
There's going to be, so take the over on this, whatever it is. Let me see. It really is. Yeah. It's actually at 82.5. So Vegas agrees that there's not going to be any defense here.
Wow.
It is going to be high scoring.
Yeah. I'm right on board. My initial thought was Houston. More and more I thought about it. I think that UCF got some confidence back with their win. I like Gabriel. I like what he's doing right now. And, I think a 1-point victory sounds about right. And I'm going to go a little bit further and say that their kicker kicks a game-winning field goal.
Oh, they'd love that.
I think he gets some redemption. Story of the week. And UCF kicks a field goal to win the game.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
And their passing attack there's no reason to believe it will slow down. So there you go. Okay. Let's see. You want to talk about Florida Atlantic? They play UTSA.
Yeah. If FAU played 2 games, UTSA has already played 7 games. But they're 4-3. I don't know how to gauge this one. I just don't know who FAU is still. But I did like the fight that they put up against Marshall. So I'm going to go slight lean with FAU on this game.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Just historically, UTSA has kind of struggled, and this year they started off hot. They won their first 3, then they lost 3 in a row. That stretch kind of got a little tough, and then they snuck out a 1-point win against Louisiana Tech. But I'll take the Owls here.
Yeah. Now, here's a real question. Are we going to break double digits?
Well, that's very valid. I don't know. They got to figure something out there. But their defense has been keeping them in, and Willie is kind of an offensive guy, so maybe I'm hitching my wagon to the fact that he will figure something out, I guess.
Right.
That's my take. So, okay, cool. Both of the Owls. South Florida, by the way, is off. They have a bye week.
And Miami, too, right?
Yeah. So, not many games going on.
Yeah.
Kind of a breather. This was built in. Actually, this was originally going to be a week off for the Gators, too. How about that?
Right. But, man, next week, that's going to be a doozy.
Yeah.
Just in general for college football, it's going to be some big games.
Probably the separation Saturday of the year, I would imagine.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Big games. But that's one thing with Florida. I mean, Georgia's on the horizon, so you cannot look past Missouri. Georgia has Kentucky, I believe. So, yeah, we cannot look. If this was on the road, if Florida plays Missouri on the road, I am just sweating bullets because it would be but I think the home is what makes it a little bit more easy for us.
Gotcha. Yeah. Man, valid concerns, and this is crunch time.
Yeah,
heading into November, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool, man. Well, that was a good fun week. I just want to remind everybody before Chris gives us our contact information that if you would like to support the show, not only will you get our eternal gratitude, but you will also get extra content. Patreon.com/Florida Focus Podcast. Patreon is a way that you can give to the show monetarily. And since we knew that the Gators had a couple of weeks off, we wanted to give some content to our supporters. And Chris and I did a list of the all 2010s offense for the Gators and the Noles. So if you want to hear our take on the starting roster, if we took all of the best players from the last decade, you can become a Patreon, and it's sitting there writing for you. Pretty fun list to do, right?
Yeah, it was slim pickings for Florida. That was a rough decade.
We had some revelations. When hindsight's always 20/20, right? So when you have some time to sit down and look at what happened over 10 seasons, some things really start to come to light for a program, for sure. Yeah. So, Patreon.com. But how else can fans reach out to us for their thoughts on this week, Chris, and any other episodes they have thoughts on?
Go to FloridaFocusPodcast.com and look up old episodes. And one of them, I believe it was last year, it was around this time, around Halloween, we put out a Fave 5. Was it plays or games that haunt us?
Plays that haunt us, yep.
And just, Gus Scott, turn your head. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Just turn your head.
I kind of went with some little more obscure ones, but honestly, when the 2012 season was rolling around and Florida State's undefeated, there was just one play where a screen pass would have won the game against NC State. We stayed undefeated and didn't happen, fell to the ground. Instead, we have to wait. So, the plays that haunt us, that was episode 27, if you want to go back in the catalog. It's all free. So go back and do that. Whatever podcast player you use, please go ahead and give us a review so we can take that feedback and make the show better.
Mm-hmm.
And then one last thing, go to our Twitter account and please donate diapers to the Central Florida relief effort. We're still continuing to help families in need that have been furloughed from the amusement park layoffs. So please be mindful of that. And if you have the means to give back, it would certainly be appreciated.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that goes through the spiels, Chris. Anything else you'd like to add before we sign off and we head into this next week?
I'm just glad and that we're playing football, and I'm just hoping and praying and wishing that nothing crazy happens and I actually get to have a Gator football game. But like we've said in the past, safety first, the health of the players first.
Sure.
And that is way more important than this game. But I do really, really love this game.
Absolutely. That's why we do what we do. And yes, it's a nice distraction from everything that's going on, and we're grateful to have it. And you can't say thank you enough. So I'll say it for you as well. I'm glad to have it also. Have a safe Halloween, everybody. This is Brandon saying go Noles.
It's Chris. Go Gators.